Who is Ed? He could have been an extraterrestrial. Who knows?
Very smart man that knew a lot of things and had a lot of good theories. And
well, he was strange.
It could be very possible that Edward could have used magnetic levitation. He was actually a genius.
Mr. I Can't is dead.
He could have been the second generation Atlantean or Lemurian.
He never allowed anyone to see him work.
100 tons of coral in 1 year by himself.
Tikai fizikas likums.
This could be one leg of the Bermuda Triangle. Is the element of Egyptian mythology here. What is said down here, what the presentation down here today still is a mystery to a lot of people.
He was such a happy person. Very happy, very happy.
We are in Coral Castle, the enigmatic stone structure often referred to as the eighth wonder of the world. Today, Coral Castle is a haven for lovers, tourists, and locals. Thousands of people pay a visit each year. Some to hear a tragic love story, some to check whether the walls of the castle still stand, and some to solve the mystery of its creation. The amount of work involved is comparable to the construction of Egyptian pyramids, all done by just one person. Edward Liedskalnиньше, a Latvian runaway not taller than 5'6" who believed that human beings can do anything, or maybe he just believed in the overwhelming force of love. Its walls and structures consist of coral blocks, the total weight of which exceeds 1,100 tons. Perhaps the most enchanting legend of the castle tells the tale of Ed building his castle for his sweet 16, a woman he has been in love with throughout his life, but who jilted him a day before their wedding. Rock musician Ed.L visited the castle in 1986. And he was so impressed by the story behind it that he composed the song Sweet 16, dedicated to Edward's unrequited love affair. He even shot a music video within the castle walls. The tragic love story took place in Latvia in about 1910. In his late 20s, Edward was a young man with eyes like gimlets, who melted the heart of Hermine Lucis, whom Edward would later call Agnes Scuffs, a name that most likely means innocent kiss. The lovers planned their wedding day, but at the last minute, something in the piercing eyes of Edward scares the young woman so much that she leaves her fiancé at the altar. The force of his unexpressed love will later surface in the construction of his first castle, made of limestone formed from coral, that to this day gives peace and joy to its residents.
It was just a lucky chance that we ended up here from our lives, and just were happy to find something so interesting to be near and around. I feel like there's a strong feeling of good things happen here. When I met my wife Bridget, we lived here and have enjoyed it for many years now, and we're very happy together and enjoy our property and enjoy working together, which I think Ed had intended to be with someone that he had loved very much, and we feel our love for each other every day, so we feel very blessed and happy to be here.
There are two kinds of love, sensual and sentimental. Sensual love has the present and little future only. The sentimental love has the present, past and future, so it is more desirable. The sweet 16 had to be a beginner and a likable girl, and with a mild disposition. I had to be deserving of her. Everybody's sweet 16 should be so high in one's estimation that no temptation could induce one to act behind her back. I always wanted a girl, but I never had one.
Iveta Krumina, Edward's only direct kin living in Latvia, has always worked to keep the family traditions and memories alive.
Par Edvarda aizbraukšanu visspilgtākā leģenda ir tieši šī vilšanās mīlestībā, kad it kā Agnese viņam ir atteikusi altāru priekšā un ar laustu sirdi viņš ir pametis Latviju.
Mostly he talked about his sweet 16. Of course, we were teenagers, so we were very much interested about his love life. I think he was going to marry her, and then she decided not to marry. And that was the end. So he was lost.
Un devies ļoti tālā ceļojumā uz Floridu. Cik esmu runājis ar vecāka gadagājuma cilvēkiem, viņi drusku smaida par šo leģendu, jo kurš cilvēks gan mīlestības pēc dotos tik tālu. Un tiek meklēts cits izskaidrojums šai viņa ceļojuma iemeslam. Varētu būt, ka tas ir bijis, ka tiešām viņš ir viens no Liedskaliņiem bijis iesaistīts 5. gada revolūcijā, un ne tikai 5. gada revolūcijā, arī citos nemieros, kas vēlāk bija Latvijā.
In his homeland, there was excitement and disorder. An anti-monarchic wave descended into the most remote corners of Latvia. A youth movement united in the form of underground terrorist organizations and planned out acts of arson on the local ruling class.
Par Liedskaliņiem laikam jāsaka tā, ka viņi diezgan patriotiski noskaņot un tā kā cēlušies no zemniekiem, no tautas, tad varētu būt, kad viņus arī droši vien neapmierināja valdošā šķira. Varētu būt, ka viņiem bija interese kaut ko mainīt savā dzīvē.
The Stamariena Castle. In his childhood, Edward often passed by it in his long journeys through the forests. During the chaos of 1905, Stamariena was a significant center for rebels, who ultimately burned the castle down.
pilnīgi pieļauju, ka arī Eds 5. gadā, būdams 18-gadīgs jaunietis, nepalika malā un droši vien kopā ar pārējiem arī devās gan uz Stāmerienas pili. Varbūt, ja nu negluži cīnīties, tad noteikti piedalīties un paskatīties un atbalstīt ar savu klātbūtni.
One way or another, Edward leaves the country between 1910 and 1912. Florida City, a small town several miles away from Miami, the middle of nowhere, the most southern point of continental America. Edward finds himself on a railway station nearby in the town of Homestead in 1920, wasting away and suffering from tuberculosis after a long journey across the United States. We do not know much about the years following his departure. 8 years of his wanderings are a murky secret. We definitely know that in 1912, he descended onto American soil after crossing the ocean by ship from Hamburg, Germany to New York. And became lost amid the vast country. Certain documents verify that during that time period, he worked in a lumber yard in Oregon. But then became very ill and traveled south. What made him move to the south and start to work on these stones? Maybe it was his illness. Latvians have always been known for their deep understanding of nature. There is a mystical tradition among middle-aged men who chant around special rocks. The vibration of the voices give an edge to the magnetic energy of the stones, allowing it to heal even fatal illnesses. He definitely felt the energy of the stones. Soon after moving south, Ed is cured. Or maybe arriving in the south, he recovers from his illness on his own, and then starts to do what he was taught to do in Latvia as a boy. Life as a peasant was never easy. Edward was the 5th child in the family. As soon as he was old enough, he left school in the 4th grade to become an apprentice to his father, a bricklayer.
My idea is that Ed.L was a genius, but he couldn't develop much farther because he only went to 4th grade of elementary school. If he would have time to go to college and get a formal education, I think that this guy would have been an outstanding genius. Because what is said down here, what the presentation down here today still is a mystery to a lot of people.
Es domāju, ka tas laiks varētu būt tāds, kad latviešu zemniekam daudz laika neatlika domāt par profesiju, viņam bija jādomā par izdzīvošanu. Visticamāk, viņš bija spiests strādāt lauksaimniecībā, savā sētā pie saimniekiem vai kalpu sētā, un Liedskaliņiem raksturīgi bija, es domāju, jau no mazām dienām viņi tika radināti pie lauku sētas darbiem, un cik es zinu nostāstus par saviem senčiem, tad tie ir bijuši akmeņkaļi.
Well, I think as a child, working on the farm,
he learned many, many things. And there are sayings that he had learned many things when he was young from his father, who had learned it from a very informative person. And when he came here to this country, he worked as a mason and also as a lumberjack, where he learned many things also. And while I was here, he always spent one day a week in the library studying or learning things, reading books, etc. And he always brought books home from the library and studied more. He probably studied and researched enough that he probably could have won several PhDs, even though he only had a 4th grade formal education.
It's no wonder that Ed's knowledge led him to create wonderful inventions, such as a device that harnesses the use of perpetual motion, which he will later invent to generate enough electricity to use throughout the castle.
This was his generator. This generator is an AC generator because it will produce enough electricity to ignite the incandescent filament of 2 light bulbs. Most generators have to run full throttle, and normally they use a combustion engine. But this generator is being worked by hand. See, that's a 4-cylinder engine block and a crankshaft attached to it, which is down here. The crankshaft is going to receive the flywheel, which is on top and is very heavy. He've equally distributed all these magnets on top of the flywheel in rows of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the handle. The handle is to operate this device. And his move there is going to be hard to move. But once he gains momentum, it's much easier. You notice how fast it goes. It will produce 120 volts with this, 3 amps of electricity, and at least from 60 to 70 watts.
Yeah, he was strange. You have to live like that. He's a strange person. To do what he's done, it takes a lot of brains. He would never work while we were around. Never. Always, he did everything by himself.
Always by himself, all the time thinking. Evenings he spends wandering the town and observing the people around him. In the day of silent films, he visited the old Seminole Theater. But later, when sound was added, he stopped attending the theater, saying that the sound was confusing to him. Still, his walks about town often brought him back to this theater. Is he trying to imagine attending it with his beloved? Or is he waiting for the last spectators to go home so that he can continue his work? Trying to hide his work from curiosity of his neighbors, Ed works in the night. Fearing that someone is trying to track his moves, he stops working and does not start again until the strangers leave. Ed builds his first castle all by himself, based on the principles of bricklaying that his father taught him. First he puts the walls together from the big blocks, and then he fills in the empty space between the blocks with smaller rocks. Glenn Cronin, the owner of the first castle, bought the castle because he was charmed by the surrounding vegetation. He considers it to be a quiet and peaceful place, although Florida is well known for its hurricane seasons.
After Hurricane Andrew, this area was completely devastated. There was very few buildings left standing. This building was barely touched. It didn't really have any problems at all. And it would be a good shelter at any time through any hurricane, especially since we know that it would withstand the number 5 category.
Construction that can withstand hurricanes is a must for Florida, where official hurricane season lasts 3 months of the year, from August until October, and where strong storms can also hit in spring and winter.
It's very strong, very well built.
Man arī pašai liels pārsteigums bija Eda pirmajā mājvietā, kad javas vietā ir izmantoti sīki mazi akmentiņi, kuri turās ļoti stabili un ļoti stingri un precīzi ielikti. Meklējot savā laikā Liedskалниньu saknes un celtās mājas mūsu pusē, pabraucot uz Dzelzavu, meklējot Edvarda un Otto vecāku un vecvecāku mājas, mēs atradām senas mājas, kuru pamatā ir arī plēstie laukakmeņi. Es domāju, ka tas tiešām varētu būt, ka tas ir ģimenes arods.
The way he built it is really amazing. Ed was a very special person that had a thought and had a theory on how he wanted to do something and took it to the limit and proved that you can do anything if you put your mind to it. And he really showed the world that he is a very special person for doing what he did and how he did it.
When he first came here, that the mothers would tell their children not to go near him because he was weird, you know. But later on, after people got to know him and got to understand him, then they accepted him because they came in groups like on Sundays from church, etc., to picnic here.
Elita Crown, a Cuban woman who moved to Homestead with her family in 1929, as a teenager used to visit Ed's place, as he called his first castle. She is now 83, but still finds visits to Ed's place to be her fondest memories.
Just to see him, and there were a lot of kids there, and see all the kids. Because it was just a group of, you know, it was a thing to do on a Sunday. See all the kids there, and gossip, get everybody's news, who's in love with whom, or who's going with him. Just kid stuff. Well, I moved to Homestead in 1929, and I was 13 years old. He was very friendly, but he was just about my size, about 5 feet. I'm only 5 feet, but he was maybe a little taller, but not too much taller. And he was very happy when we came on Sundays to see him. In those days in Homestead, there was very little entertainment, except the movie once a week on Saturday. Otherwise, there was nothing really.
The curiosity that enveloped Coral Castle attracted many visitors to the site. But they were not just meaningless coral sculptures. Most of the items in the castle bear significant scientific value.
The two markers will give you the time. This is a self-adjusting sundial. This is for the winter solstice. That is for the summer solstice. Here's going to be 2 o'clock. 9 minutes till, okay? So there it is, 9 minutes till. It's very, very accurate.
Edward enjoyed giving guided tours of his coral castle. He delighted in explaining the stones and his inventions to people. He always invited them to ask questions if anything seemed unclear, and gave detailed answer if the questions were about the amazing devices inside the castle, and not about how he managed to move the huge coral blocks on his own. In addition to the accurate sundial, Edward also created a 20-ton telescope, towering 25 feet above the ground, perfectly aligned with the North Star.
The telescope behind me was built in 1940. If you look, the telescope weighs 20 tons, but look how it works. It's got a peep sight to here. The North Star at this point of Florida is 2 degrees to the left, because that's the location here. The telescope is 25 feet tall, but the full length is 35 feet. So it's embedded into the coral 10 feet deep. On any clear night since 1940, if you come down here, you will always see the North Star. The North Star will never go to the middle of the cross lines, but the North Star will never leave the circle. It will move counterclockwise. It will move like that all the time. Actually, depending upon the season you come down here, on solstices and equinoxes, which are key dates, the star will be in one of those quadrants for you. So that's the amazing thing about Ed.L. He knew so much about astronomy. The man with the 4th grade of education that has the intellect of a physicist and an engineer and outstanding astronomer.
Later, all these huge coral blocks were moved from Florida City to Homestead, when Edward, according to some versions of the story, decided that not enough people were enjoying the unique stone arrangements. Using his astonishing pressure cooker, another of his inventions, Ed feeds his guests grilled potatoes and sausages, even when food was scarce during World War II.
He never charged us anything. Sometimes they say that they charge 10 cents. Now, he never charged any time I went there. 10 cents was a lot of money. Movies was 10 cents on Saturday afternoon. Coca-Cola was 5 cents. And we used to call them Cokes. I want a Coke. We never said Coca-Cola. And then if we had 10 cents, we felt very rich. And they put a drop of cherry juice, and that was cherry dope. So when I went to New York for the first time, I asked for a dope. They didn't know what I was talking about. Because that's what we called him in Homestead. And it was 5 cents. He was such a happy person, very happy.
The year 1936 was a turning point in Ed's life. Thousands of miles away in Latvia, Hermina Lucis dies, the wife and mother of 2 children. How did Ed learn about this? We can only guess that through his extraordinary sense of space and time, he somehow felt the passing of the one he loved. What did the death mean for Ed? Hope destroyed? Losing the meaning of life? We don't know. But that year, Ed embraced the decision to move his castle to Homestead, 15 miles from its original location. One of the people who helped Ed move his coral blocks to the new location was Erwin Orwell, a 14-year-old boy at the time who, like most teenagers around town, frequented Ed's place. Ed once saw him driving a small truck and hired the boy for a handsome sum of money, as he needed some tools and equipment hauled to the new site. The boy was proud to have earned a man's full day wage for half a day's work.
But I was 14 years old when I first knew Ed. How'd you know about me?
The distressed teenager was expelled from school for his poor progress. He had no choice but to work, so he ventured into the construction industry.
See if they can do an article on the Coral Castle. Do I know you?
Is that your daughter? Is that your daughter? Granddaughter?
I've been here 80 years. I'm a little thick. And I learned to work. And I could take my trowel and put the walls of the house up one day by myself.
Because of congenital speech problems, Erwin was a relatively shy boy. This is most likely why, along with his construction experience, Ed employed him to help with the transportation of the coral blocks. Working with Ed was like attending the school of life for the teenager. Ed consistently proves to Erwin that nothing is impossible.
I worked in construction and I began to lay blocks when I was 14 years old. I had to drop out of school. And asked anybody to do that. I can't. God, I heard that damn thing. So what did Ed prove? He built a castle by himself. He proved that the make-believe Mr. I Can't is dead.
However, Ed does not reveal his secrets to the young man.
He wouldn't work with anybody around when you're handling 10-ton stones, you know.
A farmer, Bob Biggers, whom Ed hired to bring his large blocks to the new place, does not participate in setting them up, as Ed does everything by himself at night. In the new castle, Edward would no longer talk about his Sweet 16. Previously, when asked about why he built the castle, Edward would always reply, "Someday, my Sweet 16 will come."
Yeah, I believe that she was a real person, yeah. And he talked about her all the time, you know. That's why he built a castle for his Sweet 16.
Heart-shaped stone is carved in a twisted form because I know that sometimes married couples have difficulty getting along together. So I made this stone in the shape of heart that was only twisted and not really broken. This stone had to be used after we have an argument. We will go over and sit on it until we will make up. Chair, called mother-in-law special, is the most uncomfortable seat of all I created. In case she visits us, but shouldn't stay too long. I made rocking chair for Agnes. If she becomes angry, she can sit on it until anger gets over, and she will feel hungry.
Surprisingly, Ed's personal living quarters were very modest. A table and a chair, kerosene cook stove, no longer there, a pantry, not typical of a bachelor, and a hanging bed. No, he did not sleep on it while it was hanging. At night, Ed would lower the bed with ropes and pulleys. His house might have been modest, but the rest was huge in scale. Moon block, 22 tons. The gate, 9 tons. Obelisk, 22 tons. Rocking chair, 4 tons. Heart-shaped coral table, 2.5 tons. Telescope, 30 tons. Moon pond, comprised of 3 18-ton pieces. 30-ton stone. Tower, 243 tons of coral cut into blocks of 4 to 9 tons each. But the question remains, how is it possible for a sickly man, just 5 foot 6 inches tall, working alone using only simple tools to gather and assemble about 3 million pounds of dense coral blocks to build a castle. Is it really possible that the large blocks in Coral Castle were moved with tripods?
Nebūtu problēma.
Lиедскалниньше, a distant relative of Ed's living in Latvia, seems to know the answer. He believes that with the instruments that Ed had access to, the same that Jānis has at his home in Latvia, he would also be able to build such a castle.
To var pacelt. Viņam bija fabrikas ražotais. Tos celmus rāvā ar šitādiem 3 kājiem. 30. gados.
Jānis will show us how it works.
Tagad sagatavosim viņu pacelšanai. Es rēķinu būtu 3 stundas. Tad es varu griezt. Tā jau es viegli griežu, nejūtu. Es domāju, ka pietiek. Fizikas likumu pielietoja pat pie Eģiptē pie piramidu.
People often forget what methods were used in, as they say, the olden days.
Aizmirstais ir šodien jaunums. Nav tādas robežas, robeža ir mehanismos. 3 kājas ir labs, bet ir jābūt tam mehanismam spēcīgākam. Tā jāliek vēl zobrati klāt, jāpapildina. Tad viņš cels vairāk. Nē, tikai fizikas likums. Viņš fiziku labi pārzināja un pēc fizikas likuma viņš strādāja.
What technology did Ed use?
Tāpat pārvietot. Tagad lielu akmeni pārvietot. Tas ir vienkārši. Viņš uzlika uz 2 blankām akmeni, blankām apakšā ruļļus un velc. Un tas, lai viņš būtu cik smags, pa tiem ruļļiem viņš veļās.
Many felt its extraordinary powers upon visiting. Ray Ramirez arrived at Coral Castle after returning from the Vietnam War and became swept up in the mystery, deciding to delve into researching Ed's past. He believes that his solid understanding of the laws of physics is only part of what explains how Ed took to his craft.
That hoist is for light work, that hoist is for heavy work. That one could carry up to 2 tons, no more than that. 2 tons is the max, and some of these blocks weigh 4 or 5 tons. So what else did he use to work with that coral? What else did he use? Today it's still a mystery.
Oh, we used to ask questions. Oh, God, yes. By all means. We asked many questions, but he would never give us an answer. He never would give us an answer. As far as I know, he never told anyone how he did it, because he always worked by himself. He never worked while we were there. Very secretive, very.
There are many versions of how Ed worked with his materials, some of them fantastic in nature. Curious neighbors claim that Ed sang while working with the stones, such that the vibrations of his voice caused the stones to levitate. More concrete research confirms that Coral Castle is uniquely situated in the path of magnetic fields surrounding the entire globe. Tapping into that magnetic energy may have allowed him to defy gravity. Following Ed's death, this theory was indirectly proved to be of merit when NASA experts chose the area as a place for shuttle launches, just miles from Homestead.
This is to show you how Edward Leskani manipulates the energy within the park. If you notice, he's got a big block down here, but it has been cemented in here because he don't want this to be moved. What he's doing is getting the energy out of the rock from the ley lines in here and the energy from there. The energy comes from here to here to here, but the energy goes that way. Take a look at this. This is not part of the coral. This is cement that he placed in here, from one end to the other. So the energy comes right here. Look, it goes like that, and it goes like that. But if you walk this way, it will not disconnect. Always when you walk back, disconnect. So the energy goes one way. If you want to try a kinesiology effect,
take my hand.
Okay. See that?
Yeah.
Now, if you stand on the side down here, look what happened. So on the line, you're going to be very strong. On this energy line, you stand like his, you're going to be very strong. If you go stand off, your hand goes down.
Ed penned his theories on magnetic streams in a paper entitled Magnetic Current in 1945. Ed tells us that the Earth consists of three components: northern and southern poles and neutral particles. Everything you need to know comes from the combination of these three components. And that is exactly how he came up with his perpetual motion concept.
Energy on this generator, he's making electricity by using magnetic energy from the magnetic field, right from here. I actually on top of the generator, and that's where the ley line is. When I go by, it disconnect. When I bring it like that, on top of the generator is right on it. When I go by, it disconnect. So the energy creates the impedance for this generator. So we don't need a large coil around it. That's why you use a transformer on this side. These magnets are calibrated negative, positive, negative, positive, negative, positive. That is an AC generator. He's got 24 rows of magnets. 12 are negative, 12 are positive. If you multiply 12 tenfolds, you get 120 volts.
Ed probably just skillfully took to the Earth's magnetic fields. His second castle is built in the shape of a seashell spiral, which allows for the buildup of magnetic energy.
So he is manipulating the magnetic energy. You see this part down here? He's got another one up there. And that one has a cross. So the energy is right here. It goes across, because here's where we make the intersection right here. Take a look at the symbol. This guides the energy right there. This energy is coming from this source. It goes all the way across, it bounces there, and then it goes the other way. So the energy goes from there to that, from there to the gate. This is the gate, the one you could push with your index finger. See that? Watch. It's pure physics, it's centered, perfectly balanced, but also he's got magnetic energy in here. The magnetic energy is lined up with the gate. If you take the dowsing rods and look for the ley lines or the magnetic energy line, you can see how it closes right in front of the gate and then opens again. So it's a possibility that he used magnetic energy lines doing that to build the gate. He did it in 5 days by himself. No horses, no mules, not even a team of oxen. No human help. And he did it in 5 days. In 1986, the first time that the gate broke down, it required a 20-ton crane, a crane operator, and a crew of 5 to repair this for 2 weeks. The repair only lasted 19 years. Edd's carving works lasted 50, from 1936 to 1986. Incredible.
Something that nobody understands, how he did it. It just hasn't been, nobody has come out to tell us how he did this. What tools did he use? Where did he get the strength? Nobody, it's still a mystery. Nobody knows the answer to that, as far as I know. It's a mystery.
Ed may not be the only one taking advantage of the magnetic forces that seem to be present in the area. Some have wondered whether NASA, which has a shuttle launch nearby, is also drawing on the enigmatic energy to give their shuttles an extra boost.
This is in the Bermuda Triangle. I'm not sure if it's the actual point of one of the sides of it or an edge or where 2 points meet in that triangle, but it's within that triangle, I do believe. I don't know how close or how far.
Someone said that the Bermuda Triangle probably started at Fort Lauderdale or in Miami. You got to make sure that this is part of Miami. If you look this from space, Florida is very small. So I'm pretty sure that this could be one leg of the Bermuda Triangle.
Ed often said that to understand how Egyptians built the pyramids, perhaps it is best to build a pyramid. He said he was able to unlock their secret.
There's a lot of codes in here. We have 6-point star, which is hexagram. We have 8-point star, which is the bloom of life. Egyptians believe in the bloom of life as being the 8-point star, but beyond, when they die and they get mummified, they're going to be into eternal path. So that will multiply the lifespan double. So it will be 16, and you find a lot of 16 symbols in here. The stairwell has 16 steps. The fountain has 16 loops. I didn't tell you this, but in the well, it has 16 steps. So the number 16 is an extension of the bloom of life in Egyptian mythology, because they believe in reincarnation by living eternally.
So it may be possible that Ed's conversations about his Sweet 16 were not just a reminder of his unhappy love affair. What if by that phrase, Sweet 16, he meant something different, the key to the code? What if he encodes in his castle some message to civilization? We may never get an answer to that question. All of Ed's records, all of his diaries, mysteriously disappeared soon after his death. The day of Ed's death was just another rainy day. He simply left a note on the door of his castle that read, "Went to the hospital." And then he actually went to the hospital, where he died within several days, having suffered from lung cancer. Alone, never loved by a woman, never understood by another human being.
Labdien, Otto! Es esmu tavs brālis Edvards. Sūtu tev 2 bildes ar mani pašu un manu māju es iztaisīju. Esmu aizmirsis, kā rakstīt par latviski. Tagad ir pagājuši 35 gadi, kad saņēmu pēdējo vēstuli no Latvijas. Sūti vēstuli un apraksti, kā tev klājās. Edvarde Lētskalniņa.
Yet, Edward did not receive an answer to his letter. Will we ever know his brother's response? Otto's son, Evald's Lиедскалниньше, was supposed to send it, but he became too afraid to do so.
Saulīt vēlu vakarāji, sēžas zelta laiviņāji. Saulīt vēlu vakarāji, sēžas zelta laiviņā. Rītā agri uzlēgdama, atstāj laivu līgoju.
Visticamāk, ka Edvards arī neuzzināja, ka viņam Latvijā ir dzīvs brālis, ka viņam tur ir brālim ģimene. Nu, tie bija tā laika apstākļi. Es domāju, kas netika atbalstīti šī saikne ar ārzemēm.
I think that Ed.L was very much in love with Agnes Scoff because it's a fact that she existed. I think that he remembered her smile, and that's what he always talked about that when he wrote about it.
Oh, the song, yeah. I grew up on them. I used to crawl up on them. And I asked you lots of questions. The big moon, the small moon, the Saturn, you know, that's part of my life. I mean, what he's got on his shirt is part of my life. So what?
It would be very happy memories that I have of Ed. That's all.
I think that he did it for his reasons, that he knows he did it for in his head. He accomplished what he wanted to do in his life for the person he loved, and that was good enough for him. So that's good enough for me as far as he was happy doing what he did in life, and as long as people can be happy what they do in life, good for him and God bless him. You know, he did his thing.
See